Let us understand what does it mean when God said that he will put his words in the mouth of his prophet like Moses. Let us fully understand that. Now to begin, how did God communicated with the prophet Moses? Religions taught us that Moses was the one who wrote the first 5 books of the Bible, particularly the book of Genesis. Now the problem is, was he there during the creation? Of course not. How was he able to write those events? Let us read in Exodus chapter 33, verse 11. I am reading the New International Version, 1984. This is what's written. The Lord would speak to Moses face to face, as a man speaks with his friend. Then Moses would return to the camp, but his young assistant Joshua, son of Nun, did not leave the tent. So therefore, we could understand how was Moses able to write the events in the book of Genesis. It is not because it was shared to him by other people, but rather it was revealed to him by God. God was the one who revealed to him what happened during the time of the creation. Now, how about the other prophets in the Bible, especially those who have written prophecies in the scriptures? How did God communicate to them? Let us read in Hosea chapter 12, verse 10. And this is what is written. I spoke to the prophets and gave them many visions and told parables through them. So, with the other prophets like Isaiah, Jeremiah, God spoke to them through visions, and those visions were written by them. And that is what we are reading right now in the Old Testament in the Bible. Now, when it comes to the prophet like Moses, reading again Deuteronomy 18, verse 18 to 19, here's how it reads. I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their brothers. I will put my words in his mouth, and he will tell them everything I command him. If anyone does not listen to my words that the prophet speaks in my name, I myself will call him to account. Now, the difference between the prophet like Moses and the other prophets is that Moses was the one who had written the first 5 books of the Bible, because God was the one who revealed it to him, from Genesis to part of Deuteronomy. And for the other prophets, it is through visions and parables, and that is what they have written in their prophecies in the Old Testament. Now, when it comes to the prophet like Moses, God said that he will put his words in the mouth of this prophet. This prophet will not write another prophecy for God because it has been written already by the prophets. What he's to do is that he will explain and enlighten us about the true meaning of what the prophets have written before him. That way, we can understand the true meaning of what God has said in the Bible, particularly about his great name. How do we know that other prophets of God, like Jeremiah, for example, knew the coming of the prophet like Moses? Did he write about it? Let us read in Jeremiah chapter 1, verses 4 to 10. And this is how it reads. The word of the Lord came to me, saying, Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Now, scholars and so-called Bible experts believe that the one who is pertained here as the prophet to the nations was the prophet Jeremiah. But in this case, it is not. This refers to the coming prophet like Moses, whom God will send to deliver his message to the nations of the world. Just as how Moses was God's spokesperson during his era or during his time, in our time, in our present era, the spokesperson of God was his prophet like Moses, and that had been fulfilled in the person of the late Teacher Evangelista, because before he passed away on October 2015, Maestro Evangelista or Teacher Evangelista was able to deliver and convey the true message of God as written in the scriptures, particularly about his great name, via the website www.thename.ph. Now, let us continue reading in Jeremiah 1 verse 6. As sovereign Lord, I said, I do not know how to speak, I am only a child. According to the late Teacher Evangelista, the reason why it is written, I am only a child, it only means that just like a child, he doesn't have prior knowledge of the scriptures. Now, let us continue reading in chapter 1, verse 7. But the Lord said to me, do not say I am only a child. You must go to everyone I send you to and say whatever I command you. Meaning to say, the prophet like Moses should not say that he doesn't know what to reveal in the Bible, because God is the one who would teach him. Now, to continue in verse 8, do not be afraid of them, for I am with you and will rescue you, declares the Lord. 9. Then the Lord reached out his hand and touched my mouth and said to me, now I have put my words in your mouth. As we can see, the prophecy, book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18, verses 18 to 19, came to fulfillment through the late Teacher Evangelista. To continue in 1 verse 10, see, today I appoint you over nations and kingdoms, to uproot and tear down, to destroy and overthrow, to build and to plant. Meaning, the prophet like Moses was appointed over nations and kingdoms in the sense that he is God's spokesperson to the nations and kingdoms in our current era, delivering the message that God had revealed in the Bible through the website www.thename.ph. Now, the question, is it true that God will send a foreigner to speak in his name? Now, the question is, how did God make Teacher Evangelista an Israelite? Because he is a foreigner, but how did God make him an Israelite? Let us read in Zechariah 13 verse 9. This is what's written. This third I will bring into the fire. I'll refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name and I will answer them. I will say, they are my people, and they will say, the Lord is our God. Now, in this Bible verse, we can read that God will consider those who will call on his name as his people Israel, or as his new people Israel. In the case of Teacher Evangelista, when God revealed to him his name in the scriptures, and when Teacher Evangelista accepted it, that day he became an Israelite through God's word, here in Zechariah 13 verse 9. Therefore, as we can now understand, since Teacher Evangelista is now an Israelite through the name of God, this means that what God said in Deuteronomy 18 verse 18, that the prophet like Moses will come from among their brothers, meaning from the other people whom God will consider as Israel when they call on his great name. Teacher Evangelista was the firstborn of God's new people. Now that we understand how Teacher Evangelista became an Israelite through the name of God, is it true that God will send a foreigner to reveal his name? Let us read in 1 Kings 8:41 to 43. And this is what's written. As for the foreigner who does not belong to your people Israel, but has come from a distant land because of your great name, for men will hear of your great name and your mighty hand and your outstretched arm when he comes and prays towards this temple. Then hear from heaven your dwelling place, and do whatever the foreigner asks of you, so that people of the earth may know your name and fear you, as do your own people Israel, and may know that this house that I have built bears your name. King Solomon knew about the coming of the prophet like Moses, whom God will send to reveal his name or to speak in his name. We have learned that the prophet like Moses became an Israelite through the name of God, and it is clear, as based on the scriptures, that God will send a foreigner to speak in his name. Now, we will learn what God had revealed to Teacher Evangelista about the true nature of Jesus.